Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for waiting. Before we start this another half of the pitch contest, just a quick reminder about tonight. Networking dinner will be held in the next room, so please bring your ticket and enjoy the evening with us. If you don't have a ticket, you can bring your business card as well. So now let's move on to the next half of the pitch contest. And again, for the judges, thank you for judges for your continuous dedication throughout the contest. So now we are moving on to the 11th competitors. Let's welcome AI Medical Service Incorporated Japan. Please welcome on stage.
And I'm a Japanese endoscopist, also a founder of this Air Medical Service Inc. Our mission is save lives all over the world by endoscopic AI. Like breast cancer in the first pitch session, gastrointestinal cancer has the highest mortality rate, not only in Japan, but also in the worldwide. So like breast cancer, but gastric cancer is, if detected at early stage, 97% of cancer are completely cured by endoscopic dissection. But the problem remains because early gastric cancer is very hard to detect. Up to 25% of early gastric cancer are overlooked, even in Japan. So we developed AI to detect early gastric cancer. It takes 6 years, but we get medical approval in Japan 2023, and also we version up our product. Our version up version get medical approval in Japan last December. So I will show our product video. So our product is AI software. Just connect the video cable to an endoscopic device. Our AI can connect to both Olympus and Fujifilm device. So during endoscopy, our AI looks for the early suspicious reason for early gastric cancer. If AI detects suspicious reason for early gastric cancer, our AI mark up suspicious region. So with this AI, endoscopists can easily detect early gastric cancer. So early gastric cancer is very surrounded by gastritis. So even for experienced endoscopists, it's hard to detect early gastric cancer. With this AI, I believe overlooked cancer is reduced. So we are advocating new era of real-time double check. And during endoscopy, the AI helps to detect lesion. And so differential diagnosis is made by doctor, and final diagnosis is made by pathological examination. Our second product demonstrated the increase in both sensitivity and specificity, even for expert endoscopists. And also, Japan is a world leader in endoscopic medicine, so high quality data and wisdom are currently found only in Japan. And so we first succeeded in 2018 to develop detection of early gastric cancer. So 1/4 of endoscopy AI research is published by our group. And so also we have quality and quantity of owned data and precise annotation technology. So, and also we have conducted joint research with more than 140 leading medical institutions in the world. So we are developing AI with top wisdom. And also key opinion leader in myself in gastroenterology and former vice president of Boston Scientific Japan leads the company. We have a strong team to execute our vision. we received numerous awards as one of Japan's leading startup, not only in Japan, but also in US. So we get medical approval not only in Japan, but also in Singapore and Brazil. And so we are preparing to go US and Thailand. And also aiming to expand business of endoscopic AI by expanding functions, applied organs, and regions. So we are defining the future of endoscopic medicine with AI. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for your presentation. So now it's time for the Q&A session. So please go ahead.
Does your clinical data show a significant difference to the conventional endoscopy diagnosis versus what you are presenting in your new model and device?
Yes, thank you for. So with our AI, our AI have a superior ability both in sensitivity and specificity compared with human experienced doctors. But as for second version, we demonstrate that with AI, experienced doctor enhances their ability to increase sensitivity and specificity.
It sounds very, very impressive, and it sounds very obvious that if you can give AI as a second backup to the clinician, why wouldn't they use it? So that's great. I was reading somewhere recently that the US uses a lot of colonoscopies, and Japan uses a lot, but many other countries use FIT test or use other kind of stool test, non-invasive before, and do far fewer colonoscopies. So is there a potential risk that either Japan or the US starts using less invasive methods and that the market share, your market for your product actually gets smaller? Is that, am I making that up?
Okay, I am asked the same questions repeatedly. So only endoscopic examination can diagnose gastrointestinal cancer at early stage because blood scar test or liquid biopsy can only indicate cancer risk, cannot diagnose.
But I mean, I guess my question is, if you're going to sell this to people to GI doctors doing colonoscopies, are they going to be, in the future, are people going to be, it's expensive, it's unpleasant, nobody wants to have one, and if you tell me I can poop and scoop it, into a test tube, I will do that instead. So is your overall market, the number of colonoscopies, likely going to shrink? That's my question.
Oh, thank you. But gastric cancer, not all patients do not receive endoscopy. Even in Japan, only at the age of 15, nearly half of the people do not receive endoscopic examination. And as for colonoscopy, maybe 70 to 80% of people did not receive colonoscopy, not only once in the lifetime. So there is a need to do endoscopic examination. So I'm an endoscopist, so risk determination is important. If you do not have colon polyp, you do not necessarily to receive colonoscopy every year, but if you once receive colonoscopy and did not find polyp, you don't need to receive colonoscopy for next 5 years. But there are many people did not receive colonoscopy, not once in their lifetime.
So you're saying that the market is already big enough,
yes,
and there are enough people. So I've never had one. I just had a FIT test, but that doesn't matter. There are plenty of people getting them, and that doesn't need. Okay, that's all I was asking.
Maybe the last quick question? No, that is a wrap for this session. Thank you very much, and please give a big round of applause to the speakers. Thank you so much. That was AI Medical Service Incorporated Japan. Next up, we have MapLab from USA. So please welcome speaker on stage.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sky Lam. I'm a researcher from Harvard University building MabLab, where we test for laced drugs and spiked drinks. 2 years ago, I walked into class, looking for my friend's familiar face. For some reason, she wasn't there. When asked about why, I was hit with a shocking reality that she had overdosed due to laced drugs. She never could have known, and it cost her her life. Every year, more than 109,000 people overdose on laced drugs every single year. It's become so severe that overdose is now the #1 cause of death for Americans under the age of 45. The problem is that current tests in the market only focus on one thing, that's fentanyl, leaving other lacing agents like methamphetamine and benzodiazepine completely undetected for by current products on the market. In response, we developed the world's first 5-in-1 rapid test capable of detecting the 5 deadliest drugs and laced drugs and spiked drinks. We are IP protected as the first test in the market to test for multiple lacing agents simultaneously, and do so with 400 times better accuracy than the next best alternative. We get those results in a matter of seconds and do not require FDA approval as a Class 1 exempt medical device. And how it works is simple. All you need to do is take a small sample of your drug and place it into a buffer solution, or if you're using a drink, dip it right into the cup itself, and you get results within 10 seconds. It's as simple as that. Now let's take a closer look at our innovation that makes it all possible. First and foremost is a proprietary test strip design that allows us to prevent against the problem of cross-reactivity, which is where something tests positive for something it shouldn't, and the primary technical barrier is to why our competitors have failed in the past. Second is our AI platform that designs aptamers, which are small DNA sequences that outperform traditional antibodies used in COVID-19 tests and pregnancy tests because they're more affordable, stable, and scalable. But the reason why they haven't been used in COVID-19 tests, for example, is that they're quite expensive to produce. Each aptamer sequence could take up to 3 years and millions of dollars. But with our AI platform, we do everything in silico and reduce R&D costs by 800 times, unlocking tens upon thousands of future applications. So while we're starting off with drug and drink testing, we have plans to expand into the allergen testing space as well as the steroid detection space. For example, we recently received interest from the US Olympic Committee to build a test strip for steroids for the summer 2028 Olympic Games. Let's go back to the drug testing example. Here's why we win against competitors. Unlike BTNX, which can only test for one thing at a time, we test for 5 times as much at the same price point. Unlike urine tests, where you need to overdose first and then pee in a cup, we detect overdoses before they take place. And unlike lab tests that cost $500 and takes 3 weeks, our product is affordable and accessible to the end user. That's why we're going B2B, selling to universities, substance use centers, and government agencies who buy our tests in bulk and fully subsidize the cost on behalf of our end user. Each test strip costs $5 to be fully subsidized again by those B2B partners. To date, we already secured over 110K in sales, all within the past 3 months. 86% of these are recurring contracts with an average contract size of 12.7K. But we're not done there. With existing contracts with Live Nation, Boston Calling, and other music festivals, we're already on track to hit $5 million worth of contracts by the end of 2026. But here at MabLab, revenue is not our only KPI. It's also the number of lives saved, with the $5 million saving upwards of 1 million lives. We get there both in the short term, where 70 to 90% of users either use less of the drug or throw away completely, and in the long term, where users are 5 times more likely to engage in long-term recovery programs, giving them more time to live and spend time with their families on the road to recovery. To date, we already secured those 110K in sales and are on our way to hit 800K by the end of this year. Next year will be our first year 1 million ARR, and we plan to launch a second application of our test strips by the end of 2027. And finally, this is the team that makes it all possible. My co-founder, Vienna, previously exited her last startup with over 70,000 active users and is a 3-time published author at Columbia Medical School, specifically in this space. I previously generated over $1 million in sales, as well as became officially trained in overdose prevention before the age of 21. That's why I was surrounded by some of the great scientists with over 40 combined publications in healthcare, as well as behavioral health, and Carly and Carolyn, who are pretty famous in TikTok and helping us reach out to a new Gen Z audience. We're also very lucky to be supported by an amazing team of advisors with over 100 years of combined life science experience. Thank you so much, and together, let's save lives with MabLab so no one has to lose their friend like I lost mine.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Right now, here's the Q&A session. Please go ahead.
Two questions.
Hi.
One is it? Oh, sorry. What is this a problem outside of the U.S.? And then I guess the second question is, I mean, it seems like a very powerful platform technology. It looked like allergens, the next one. Can you talk a little bit more about market expansion, where you can go? Because it seems like this is just starting.
Yeah, so we could go back to the slides. I have one slide specifically focused on international growth and international expansion. So this is a problem mainly United States, Europe, but some that we're seeing, especially in overseas markets, is more of the laced drinks aspect. So for example, here in Japan, it's less so on drugs because drugs are not as popular. So we need to make sure we specify our test strips to the local needs of the community. So for here, example, a lot of the tourism industry is very focused on preventing against accidents that may happen. They're born from US embassies, UK embassies, Australian embassies, of people who are going to Southeast Asia as well as Japan, who may be spiked in a local bar every time they go out to parties. So this is something that's focused on their end, less so on the laced drugs aspect, more so for the spiked drinks. And you mentioned before that this is a platform technology. We do plan on expanding in the future. Right now, we want to do one thing great. So we're essentially our first customers with Aptamere technology. We do plan on expanding this to allergen tests. So we've seen examples from Disney, for example, where there has been a family member who was told that whatever the food contained did not have something they're allergic to, but in fact they did. So that's preventing against liability on those companies' ends in case anything does happen, as well as for the families themselves if they want to protect themselves.
So I think this is a fantastic product to market because it basically plays on the fears of parents. And we're all sitting here going, oh my Christ, I have a 14-year-old girl and who knows. But in terms of practical application, I get you can dip it in a drink, but if it's a pill that might be laced with fentanyl,
Yep.
or it's some other, it's a tab or something, how does it actually work? How do you get the, if it's a pill and you don't know what's in it, how do you get that?
If you go back to the slides again, we have another slide on this. There are different form factors of drugs. So the easiest is powder. You just put into a buffer solution and immediately get those results that way. If it's a pill form,
Sorry, you said it again. So it's powder and
you dip it right into a buffer solution, like COVID-19 test.
Yeah.
There's also additional form factors. So if it's a pill, for example, there's pill crushers online. They take a small part of that pill, so you don't remove it completely, and take a small sample of the pill that way. And it's a leaf form. You crush up a small part of the marijuana and place into the buffer solution as well. But there are pill crushers that make it into that powder form.
I mean, how much? So I get it. You want this to be as easy as possible,
Yes.
right? And so I'm wondering how much. Like, I have no idea what my kids are going to be doing out at whatever party, but how do you get it so that it's just the easiest thing for them to do? I get the drink is one thing.
So behavioral health and change is something that we're very focused on. That's why, especially us, I'm still a university student, for example. So one thing that we're talking to is engaging fraternities, sororities on campus, for students to give it out to other students. We've seen that that's the most practical aspect for especially younger generations to give out. But there's also a problem for people outside of just young generations, outside of just recreational drug users. Many underserved populations have access to the fentanyl test strips, which have become widely popular. They're doing about 800 million fentanyl test strips every single year. But our product is 5 times more comprehensive, but the same exact behavior use case, so no behavioral change is needed that way.
And it's a single use,
Single use.
$5 a time.
Yes. Right now, at our scale, we do plan to get it as low as $1 per test strip. So if we go to Walgreens or CVS, it's like a condom, for example. Anyone could pick it up.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. You just had to terrify every parent in America, and you're there. It's absolutely true.
So your primary target users are what? Occasional or habitual users of laced drugs or whatnot, and you expect them to carry those strips in their bags or whatnot, and then when they want to try those drugs, you expect those people to test it with your strip.
And people have, so we've done tons of customer research, especially the younger generations. Two different ways we do it is first, we make our product very accessible. So you put it into the back of your phone pocket and then back of your wallet. So you carry it on anywhere you go. Second is we try to place it in places where people would actually use the test strips. So right now we're partnered with bars and the Live Nation contracts, Boston Calling, Coachella, at different music festivals where drugs and drinks may be present. So instead of them having to proactively get it, it's right there in case you need it.
I see. And you actually expect people to proactively test their drinks or pills or whatever not.
So it's
you expect that behavior.
It's whenever you feel dangerous. So a lot of people, if you go to a bathroom, for example, and you leave your drink, you want to make sure you test it before you drink it again. Or if you get something from a stranger, you still want to drink it, but you want to make sure it's safe first. Then you test it ahead of time.
So what is, a little bit on top of it, right? What is your marketing strategy? How you create awareness about this and maybe create some digital solution to kind of get people attracted to use?
That's one reason why we're leveraging TikTok, Instagram, social media a lot, especially for the younger generation. There's been a big focus on fentanyl, for example, but less focus on the additional things. So our focus for marketing is on additional things. You make sure you protect yourself against fentanyl, but also methamphetamine, benzodiazepine, all the other lacing agents that may be out there that current test strips don't test for.
Can you, I'm a little confused on whether that you're trying to go straight to consumer or whether you're marketing this to university health centers and, venue event. And so which is it?
Right now it's B2B, but the end goal is for, even if we sell it, we want to make sure that people actually use it. So that's why we have a two-pronged approach. Number one is the B2B customer, and number two is the actual end user to make sure they actually use it.
And what's been at Tulane, what's been the uptake?
So there are about 4,000 test strips, especially during Mardi Gras season. It's very popular. There's already existing clubs out there. There's 5 different clubs that are focused specifically on overdose prevention. So that's one of the best use cases.
So time already passed. Thank you very much. And once again, big round of applause to the speakers. Thank you so much. So the next speaker is from Canada, KA Imagine. So please welcome the speaker on stage.
All right, first I just want to start off by thanking the organizers for having me here. As said, my name is Kareem and I'm from KA Imaging in Canada. I'm going to be telling you a bit about our journey bringing spectral DR or color X-ray to market. Spectral DR or color X-ray is a replacement for conventional X-ray, and it allows, in addition to everything that an X-ray gives you, it lets you do opportunistic detection of heart disease, cancer, and bone loss. You might wonder why I put a space rocket in the background. The reason we did that is we were also, that X-ray was the first X-ray in space. Just 2 months ago, it went up on a SpaceX rocket. They chose this X-ray because it could do bone loss measurements on the astronauts, which are important in low gravity environments, but also because the device has been demonstrated in low resource settings, like in rural villages in Kenya. And of course, when you're in space, you don't have a lot of support. In fact, these were civilian astronauts with very little training. Okay, so I'm going to focus on a specific use case. This is obviously a platform technology that applies to many things. It's also a dual-use technology, but we'll start and just focus on heart disease for now. This is a common topic that we've heard all throughout the day today. Number 1 cause of deaths globally, number 2 in Japan, disproportionately affects older people above the age of 65. The question is, most of the time patients are asymptomatic. The disease is hiding. The usual age-based risk predictors don't work so well because you don't take family history into account, you don't take inflammatory diseases that may exacerbate the situation into account. And so the question becomes, how do you actually accurately pick up heart disease early? Because if you can pick it up early, you can do something about it. So that's where spectral X-ray comes in. A recent groundbreaking study at Harvard Mass General and the University Health Network in Toronto, 2 independent studies, both confirmed the performance that spectral X-ray is equivalent to non-gated CT for the opportunistic finding of heart disease. Now, why is that important? First of all, X-ray has 50 times less radiation than a CT. So you can get an X-ray every year. It might be a little more challenging to consider getting a CT. And what they're predicting in the US now especially is that upcoming cases of cancer, a significantly large portion of them will be related to the CT scans you've had in the past. The second piece is, of course, spectral DR. It's an X-ray, so it's available everywhere. You can use it in urgent care, imaging centers, in hospitals, in mobile vans. It's quite flexible. You've also got, it finds other problems like cancer, infectious disease, bone loss, pneumonia, so it's more than just cardiac. You just need 1 X-ray exposure, no real retraining of staff required, and you get quantitative information. You can find calcium in the bone window of the spectral X-ray, and that has been shown to be equivalent to a CT scan. You really can't see this in a standard X-ray. So the team comprises of people who've been in the medical imaging space for quite some time. Usually, we've got over 200 years of experience combined in design, build, and sales. The market for X-ray is actually quite large. There's an existing install base of over 500,000 systems globally. KA Imaging has approvals in Canada, US, and Europe, so that's about 60% of the market. And our specific focus is imaging centers for retrofits so that they can do health check scans, which are very popular in Asia, but also now so in private places in the US. And also we have a secondary market in hospitals for ICUs. We've had some really good early traction. Last year we did a few sales. This year we've already hit 6 times as much, and we think we'll be on track for about 12 times as much. The main growth drivers are we got our regulatory approvals and we got these studies that have really opened the door for us. We've also got a very unique product. We are now starting to get sole source contracts where others can't compete with us because of our unique value. And we've also just signed up the largest distributor in the US and the largest GPO, Premier. So that's opening some doors for us. So what we're targeting is a $15 million raise in this round. We have a bunch of current investors like Foxconn and Usho from Japan. And the goal is really to hit over 10 million in sales in the next 24 months and then potentially expand into the Asia Pacific and layer on AI to automate the system. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. So it's time for the Q&A session.
Can you talk about your customer segment? So an imaging center that already has MRI and CT, and is that in focus, or is it really the clinics that have only X-ray, and this is an upgrade for them, or locations that are remote? Explain, just walk through your segmentation.
Absolutely. So the key word here is opportunistic. So you've got a patient coming into a hospital or imaging center. Now, most of the imaging centers we target don't really have MR. They might have CT. But when a patient walks in, maybe they've got a cough, maybe they've got something else, the first thing you're going to do is an X-ray. And if you're not in the risk category, where you would be considered at risk for heart disease, you're probably never going to get a CT. So that's where we come in, because for the health check type of service, where somebody says, I just want an X-ray, well, okay, go ahead, but now you're going to get additional information on cardiac disease, on cancer, and on bone loss, something that you couldn't get previously. That, of course, opens the door for further CTs and further downstream imaging.
So to be completely crass, I own one of those X-ray machines. You come along and say, for $50,000, you can do all this extra stuff. How do I make my money back?
Oh, you're going to make your money on all the extra CTs you're going to do.
So it's the extra X-rays I'm going to do.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just pure volume? Is there a CPT code for reading the other stuff?
Not yet.
Not
That'll
yet.
come after we have enough of an install base. We can probably get that. But right now, we're driving it through additional volume.
So your
So
economic
in-
model, I'm sorry, go ahead, Amy.
I was going to say, in the US, the advanced imaging like Pronovo or Grail or some of these other advanced imagings, how does this compare? Because to your point, right now it is private pay, and I'm concerned that it would be hard for you to get a CPT code when there's so many other expensive imaging technologies that would also love a CPT code, and that it would kind of open Pandora's box or a place that CMS does not want to go. So question one is how it compares to other advanced full body imaging, and then the second is what confidence do you have in a CPT code? Because I'm not sure that that's in the best interests of reducing cost of healthcare, which is a big push right now.
Absolutely. No, it's a great question. The CPT code question comes up all the time. The reality is, in this situation, we're a replacement for X-ray. So there's already a billing code for X-ray, so the hospital's going to pay. They're going to get paid anyway. What we're doing is we're increasing the volume of follow-up CTs for that hospital. So in a sense, even if we don't get a CPT code, it doesn't really matter. I'll give you an example. We just signed an MOU with Canossa Hospital in Hong Kong. They're deploying these units in the hospital and then potentially in the imaging centers. They're just going to charge their customers an extra $20.
What's the rate of CT follow-up for a regular X-ray, and what's the rate of CT follow-up that you've seen with your color X-ray?
Okay, so I don't have that data, but what I can say is that we are equivalent at finding calcium like a CT. And if you take people above the age of 40 in the United States, 1 out of 4 of us has calcium. So hopefully that answers the question.
So wouldn't that suffice for a diagnosis rather than doing an additional treatment or test with CT?
Excellent question. What we do is we detect calcium. For a proper diagnosis, you can do one of two things. You can do a scoring test, which allows you, because depending on the score, if you're between 0 and 100, 100 and 200, 400 plus, et cetera, the treatment pathway is different. The second one is, of course, angio. So this test is really just opening the door to those more advanced tests. Say I'm a 40-year-old, I look pretty healthy, I go for runs. You know what, I had a little shoulder injury, I get an x-ray, and I find I have calcium. Now I've been pulled into the pathway, maybe I need an angio, maybe I go for a scoring CT, right? It opens up at least I get treated. Yeah.
Any other quick question? Okay, so that's a wrap for the session. So please give a big round of applause to the speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So next up, we have a Toy Aid Holdings Incorporated from Japan. So please welcome speaker on the stage.
When I was a child, I was what you call hyperactive, always causing trouble. Not a cute kind, the kind that made life really hard for my mom. Actually, she's in the audience, so you can ask her if you don't believe me. And yet, here I am. Please remember that. At Toy 8, we are working to address a deeply structural challenge to building an inclusive society from Southeast Asia to the world. According to the area, there are 43.1 million children with disability in East Asia and the Pacific. A study showed that family caring such children need an extra 25 to 50% of their annual household income. This is why we are here today, to improve this situation together with you. First, on learning disability, for instance, the earlier learning difficulties identified and an effective intervention activity begin, the better the chance of improving a long-term outcome, because 90% of human brain neuron is completed at the age of 6. The question is how to detect it early. Developmental screening is the key to understand the current growth level of children. But screening is not available in most of ASEAN nations due to lack of resources. This is a critical issue, and an absence of screening is only one part of the problem. Let me explain further to illustrate how these structural gaps affect families we work with. Most countries have support systems in place. However, access to those services typically begin with a medical diagnosis. After that, early intervention is provided not by doctors, but teachers or in specialized care center. This is where the first structural disconnect appeared. Those who diagnose are not the ones who provide support. Those who provide support are not licensed to diagnose. I know my child needs help, but no one tells me what to do next. Another critical structural problem is long waiting time for intervention services. Even in Singapore, one of the most advanced countries in the region, children typically wait an average of 7.5 months before receiving services. In other parts of Southeast Asia, it is not uncommon for families to wait several years. This is a challenge we aim to tackle at Toy 8. AI tech lead, data scientist, ex-Nintendo game director from Japan, and top developmental pediatrician researchers in the region come together to form the best team to address such social issue. How did we do that? We have developed a screening system complete by a single smartphone device with top national and private university. It enables us to check 5 different domains. While children play just like a smartphone game, we use voice and video recognition to detect and process data analyzed by AI in the cloud to generate report. We have successfully launched AI-powered automated early intervention support with the data we are collecting on a daily basis. As of today, we have gathered more than 15,000 real-world data and carry out over 100 intervention activities for children in need. Our system was first implemented at Pantai Hospital, one of the top names in Malaysia's private healthcare. It's quickly expanded when the largest clinic network, Qualitas Group, joined us. It's widely adopted in employee benefit program, particularly by government-linked and multinational companies. Malaysia's Selangor state was among the first to implement digital developmental screening, and Sarawak state is now working to build an inclusive community ecosystem using Toy8 digital tool. With the support from Ministry of Health, we also conducted clinical study. Our tool was benchmarked against widely used Griffith scale, and the result shows high sensitivity and specificity. Tool is patent protected, ideal for use in areas with limited access to specialists. Since last October, we have been expanded into Indonesia and Singapore with leading local partner. Of course, the cost-benefit analysis is crucially important for the government. Investing in early childhood reduces future social welfare costs by 50%, for example. Well, I believe the reason I'm standing here today is because I was accepted, not as an ideal child, but just as I was. Every child deserves the same acceptance. So the question is, what if we could build an ecosystem using digital tools, where society is a part of the solution, not just parents? Let's unite to make a positive impact for our future generation together. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. So it's time for the Q&A session. So go ahead.
So I have a special interest in I have two children who have ADHD and were not diagnosed until way too late in the process. And it seems to me, and this is in the US, which is well-resourced, it seems to me that there are a variety of conditions which could be caught much earlier. So what exactly, the video game looks super cool. A 3-year-old can play it, you say? From 3 to 5?
3 to 5, yeah.
3 to 5, starting that, and it's cheap. What conditions and what diagnoses can it make? Is it just telling you, oh, this child has developmental delays? Or is it saying we think they have ADHD or they have autism, or how discrete can it go?
Thank you so much. So far, that our position is that the screening solution, it's not diagnosis. That's not the medical aspect. That's our position. Our position is the intersection at the education and the healthcare, driven by social impact. So yeah. So far we don't do any of the diagnosis. It's a preliminary screening, and after we see the red flag, and the teacher will collaborate with the medical professional to ensure the diagnosis. That is the process and flow.
So roughly what percentage of kids get screened into medical diagnoses?
It's 10 to 15%. So far, that our 15,000 diagnosis is about 10 to 15% of the kids, and we connect to the medical practitioner.
Come to Marin County, California, it'll be 80%, I promise you.
Okay, oh, sorry.
Is it, in an ideal world, is it only to be used for children who demonstrate some questionable behavior? Or is the idea that at some point this is a screening technology that can be deployed widely in a classroom, perhaps to identify things that may not be obvious at the outset?
Okay, so far that the social issue that we would like to tackle in Southeast Asia, it's a lot of kids are waiting list. They are, in the bad word, but they are kicked out from the mainstream kindergarten, and they're waiting to attend for the specialized care center. But the capacity of the specialized care center is not enough. Therefore, those kids are still on the waiting list. So our solution is we do a diagnosis to let specialized care center know that this is not necessary to go for the specialized care center. This treatment can be done at the mainstream kindergarten. So where we equip the kindergarten teacher to become provider of the intervention. So mild and the moderate kids, that is why I say that only the 10% kids will go to the medical practitioner. 30% getting a red flag will go to mainstream kindergarten, where we equip the tool, and the mainstream kindergarten will attend the intervention. So that is our solution.
So based on that, since this is not a final diagnosis, right?
This is not yet.
who is your target audience and how do you manage that? Because diagnostic is usually done by a physician or healthcare provider.
Yeah.
And in this case, if I'm understanding that right, you were actually using that tool at the kindergarten or any other society.
Thank you so much. So establish trust in healthcare and the scale through early childhood education. The most access point where we empower the teacher for the diagnosis. So our business model is to start from the healthcare to gain the trust and the skills through early childhood education, and also the B2G model, because currently our customer is a private kindergarten as well as the government sector.
So
10 to
last quick
15.
question.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Who's on the screen?
No, the last quick
Oh,
question.
okay.
Thank
10 to 15 go to special care. 30% stay in the mainstream kindergarten. And you said you'll be supporting or you'll be training the teachers there. What is the incentive for the kindergarten teachers to take on the additional load to take care of those children?
Okay. The biggest problem at this given point in time is the kindergarten teacher is the first one to pick up the unusual attribution. But the headmaster say, unfortunately, we can take care of those children because we don't have a capable enough. So the kindergarten teacher, although they would like to treat, but they have to give up because of the system. So with this tool, the kindergarten teacher who don't have the specialist training, but with the tool that they can provide and that they can become the early intervention provider. So that is the biggest incentive for the teacher.
So are you saying it's not necessarily monetary incentive, but it's more altruistic?
Monetary incentive that we are working with the government. So 2 of the states, Sarawak State and the Selangor State, give a monetary incentive for the teacher who provide these intervention services.
Okay, thanks.
So we've reached the time limit. So thank you very much once again. Big round of applause to the speakers. Thank you so much. And next up, we have Malama Health from USA. Please welcome the speaker on the stage.
Good afternoon. Thank you. My name is Amy. I am the Chief of Staff at Malama Health. We are a US-based maternal well-being solution company providing solutions to mothers with high-risk pregnancies. We are a team of very dedicated healthcare technologists, clinicians, as well as health system specialists coming together with over 100 years of healthcare professional experience as well as personal experience. A quick glance into our technology, which I'll dive into later, is our Sanford-piloted remote monitoring technology that is used to monitor gestational diabetes, one of the most common conditions in high-risk pregnancies, have so far supported over 30,000 women across the US. To complement that technology, we have recently launched a 24/7 dedicated doula care navigator who provides that additional social support. And this program has so far been contracted with 8 different health plans in the US. And we have so far supported or currently are supporting over 350 mothers from pregnancy to 1 year postpartum. And the reason why we're building both a technology, a remote monitoring technology platform, as well as that social support is because high-risk pregnancies are costly in every way. They are costly, they're taking lives, and then they're costly because the challenges they pose are fundamental to problems like our declining birth rates. So, and when we look at high-risk pregnancies, typically high-risk pregnancies are defined clinically as a pregnancy that has higher chance of adverse outcomes for the mother, typically due to clinical conditions like diabetes, hypertension, and obesity. And these factors, this is already a large chunk of the pregnancies, 1 in 10 globally every year. But if you add into that the social determinants of health, the social risk factors, we believe that number will be much higher. So for example, in the US, 8% of mothers are clinically considered high risk. But if you consider the social determinant risk factors, so you consider the race, the income, the stratified access to care factors, then that number grows quite a bit higher to 25 to 35%. And we believe the high-risk pregnancies are also a problem, similar problem in Japan. Perhaps clinically, the Japanese women does not suffer similar issues, but socially, they also face things like advanced maternal age, certain social stigmas around seeking help beyond the family, and things like negative maternal mental health ratings. So for example, Japan, I believe, ranks #1 in the G7 for postpartum maternal suicide rates. And to address also the elephant in the room, high-risk pregnancies are expensive for the payers. So this is our co-founder, Mika, who had 2 high-risk pregnancies and billed a total of $260,000 to United Healthcare. Now, Mika, being the director of clinical product innovation at the time at United Healthcare, suffered quite a lot. That was a difficult journey for her. And she wished she had a complete maternal wellness solution for her. And that's what she set out to build, a mother-centered, culturally competent in many languages, that's in the US, and with that social support to address the 80% that determines the outcome. I don't know if many of you are aware of the 20-80% heuristics in public health, where 20% of someone's health outcome is determined by clinical care, and 80% of that is determined by the social factors. So we continue to develop these 2-pronged approach with remote monitoring technology that delights the patient and encourages continuous monitoring. Combine that with dedicated human service who provides that last mile delivery, that solve that last mile delivery problem in the US healthcare system. Things like understanding truly what is in network, how to make an appointment, applying for social services, and connecting the gaps. We believe maternal well-being needs to be connected, and I will move on as I am a little out of time, but I would like to share that this model is currently working in the US. Our gestational diabetes app has served over 30,000 women across 50 states and has an excellent NPS score. And it has been, and our clinical data tells a similar story. So compared to US averages, patients who use the Malama app to track and manage their high-risk conditions experience significant decrease across these key maternal healthcare outcomes. And our connected care model, which we recently launched in 2024, is also gaining trust with the payers. We are live with 8 managed care plans so far across 3 states, and we are also hoping, this is data that we're going to collect, we will hope to deliver a very salient return on investment for the health plans. All right, we continue to improve this through our process. We have secured some smart level of funding. We have conducted our clinical validation and validations from payers, and we continue to scale. And lastly, I apologize for going over, but we are live in Japan. And I'm very excited to share that our app is now fully in Japanese, and we are developing our tailored diet suggestion for the washoku diet. So if you're a mother, please try our app today. If you are a payer, please consider to co-develop some sort of a connected model like this with a human advocate or concierge to solve those social issues. And then if you're an advocate, I welcome your feedback and any interests. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. And here's our Q&A session. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. I have two questions. One is technical and the other one a little bit more about the marketing itself. So on the technical side, you mentioned high-risk pregnancy, but it feels that it's very tailored for diabetes. Does the app encompass all kind of high-risk pregnancies like hypertension or other cases?
Yeah, so it currently is targeted for gestational diabetes, the module. We're developing hypertension modules, and we're developing additional modules for perhaps like advanced maternal age, so tailored for the different clinical conditions. So as of right now, it is gestational diabetes focused.
Okay. And there are other apps already available in the market, right? So how would you say is your differentiation against those apps?
Correct. So our app is actually ranked the highest on the app stores. If you look, 4.8 stars out of 5 compared to on the Apple App Store. But the app is one piece of the overall solution, and we see that as more of a complement to the overall service solution that we will provide. So it is, we believe that as we continue to build out different solutions, different modules for different high-risk conditions, that's going to empower the app to provide just the overall experience for a mother, rather than focused just to, I guess what I'm trying to say is we're not really fighting in a small, condition-specific angle. We're focused on overall wellness with that service piece in mind.
So next question will be the last question. No? Then it's a wrap for this session. So thank you very much, and please give a round of applause to the speakers. Thank you so much. And next up, we have Impli from UK. Please welcome on stage.
Hi, I'm Anna Luisa from Impli, and imagine a world where you know your healthcare status at all times. Impli has built the next generation of implantable monitoring platforms that enable us to capture real-time information. We spun out of Imperial College in London, and what really inspired us was what glucose monitors did in the space of healthcare. And what glucose monitors can't do is monitor multiple biomarkers at the same time, but also not long-term. And so we were on the mission to change this. Initially, we focus on women's health, monitoring hormone levels, but later we want to move into cardiovascular disease, cancer detection, and brain health. And now let's talk about why this is important. Our bodies aren't static. Our bodies are dynamic. This is specifically important for hormone levels, where we have circadian rhythms or infradian rhythms. And when we take a blood draw, we have a one-point-in-time data point. But what we actually need is a whole picture in order to make better decisions. And so for reproductive hormones, this affects 4.1 billion people in the world at some stage of their life. So this is a very large market that we're looking at solving solutions for in our first iterations. We have built a small, tiny capsule. It's the size of a grain of rice. It works with aptamers. We use them and modify them to work in vivo for us. And they enable us to measure to a very high sensitivity and wide range different hormones. We monitor estradiol, progesterone, and luteinizing hormone in our first iteration. And next up for us, our first in human trials after we validated in a quasi-vivo environment. Our team is really great, and I'm blessed to have them on board with us to work on this mission together. The way that we got to women's health as a first condition was because I suffer from polycystic ovaries, and my co-founder Sazitsa suffered from premature births. And we understood how many people were affected by this and how important it is to find solutions in this space. Our first target market here is IVF treatment, because in IVF treatment, precision care is already used. So women already go into the clinic every 2 days to draw blood. Clinicians already make decisions based on this data. And then we have relatively low success rates at the end of this, so women have to continue doing this cycle over and over again before they get pregnant. And what we can offer here is convenience for patients, so they can do this from home. Clinicians have better precision because they've got better data to work with that enables them to make timelier decisions, which is really critical in IVF. And ultimately, what we hope to do in the long term is provide better live birth rates and better safety profiles. We work with clinics where we sell directly. Clinics then sell to patients. This is a very common model in the IVF space. And then that creates a data loop between the patient and the clinician that can then feed back and make decisions based on where the woman is at in her cycle. What makes us different is that we capture highly clinically accurate data. So, for example, urine sticks can't really be used for quantifying hormones for live intervention because the more you drink, the more diluted your urine gets, it becomes tricky. Same with wearables, that's a proxy data. And so what we get is highly clinically accurate data for highly clinically accurate intervention. This is not a small market. IVF is a large market, it's a growing market, especially here in Japan, what we've learned in our time. It's important. There's 48 million couples in the world suffering from it, and a woman on average needs 3 to 5 cycles to become pregnant. However, this is only our beachhead market here, and we want to expand and have support from great supporters like Bayer to expand into the menopause, into contraception, into polycystic ovaries, breast cancer. Those are markets where real-time hormone monitoring becomes really relevant. We work together with Ovation Fertility in the US. They are part of the largest group in the US for IVF treatment. They are our first customer to the market, but also help us through our regulatory path. That is complex, and we've got support in Europe with several clinics that we work with. Now, what does our future look like? We are doing first-in-human trials next. We are raising 20 million in order to get to preclinical trials, and then FDA submission in 2027 and go to market in 2028. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. So now it's time for the Q&A. Please go ahead.
Nice presentation. Can you talk a little bit more about the intellectual property and sort of how challenging will it be to modify the technology for the next use cases?
Yeah, so the intellectual property that we have, so we've got our own patent, we've licensed a patent from Imperial as well, is around the device. So that's the electronic component together with the biosensor that we have. This is not only based on the aptamers, so we can switch around the aptamers and still have that protectability. We have multiple markers already, like mentioned in our IP set. So that is an option and opportunity that we have from an IP perspective.
Can you explain just how it works? So it gets implanted where, and how does the data get read?
Yeah, it's very similar to some of the glucose monitoring devices, like Senseonics, if you're familiar with those. It gets implanted in the upper arm. You can scan it with your phone to retrieve the data, and then the data gets shared across software platforms.
But the data is in the grain of rice device, and you can pull it off. It's not hasn't have to transmit to a separate reader.
Correct.
It requires incision to have that device implanted, and it also needs to be taken out at some point in time. When you have actually done the market research to potential users or customers, what is their response to the willingness of going through that particular process, visiting a clinician, getting a surgical procedure to get that implant in their body and then have it taken out?
Yes.
That is a hurdle.
It is a hurdle. We were very aware of this before we started this journey. We did quite extensive market research on this. It gets injected, so it's not necessarily a surgical procedure. It's a medical procedure. It gets injected. It's very similar to contraceptive devices that are on the market already, so most women would be familiar with how this works. We did a survey with 80 women that were undergoing IVF at the time. 60% of them said that they would buy the device immediately. And the reason is because they're already going through a very invasive process, and what we're doing is actually not as invasive because they don't have to go back and draw blood all the time.
And how sure you are that this is reproducible outside of the IVF space? Because I understand for the IVF, more you're getting into the perimenopause, PCOS, it's just like a more chronic type of thing?
For sure, it's it's something that we're working on. We've also looked at those markets. We're working, for example, with Bayer to understand more market research and what is available there. We are building sensors that are lasting longer. This is our first iteration we're bringing to market. It lasts for 30 days, but we've recently built a sensor that lasts for 6 months. And if you only have to do this every 6 months, it gives you a really great profile in order to showcase what your baseline is even. And so that is something that we're working on actively, which allows us to move into these other markets much more seamlessly.
Can you talk about the companies that do implantables outside of hormone therapy, and have they made any indications that they might want to be doing hormone monitoring? Are there technical barriers that prevent them from moving into this area?
So obviously the obvious competitors in that space are the glucose monitoring companies who've spent a lot of money and resources on this. We've spoken to some of them. They haven't made advancements in this space. They focused on other biomarkers. They focused on their microneedle platforms. However, full implantables have their benefits. Microneedles have issues, especially with infection rates, especially with diverse skin types. And so we become quite attractive from that side because it takes a whole another development step to build a full implantable platform that enables to do that. And so there lie some differences between what we do. We track what they're working on. The aptamers that we've built and the way that our aptamers work is something that we've proprietary developed. So we don't believe that they have that development done yet. But there's only so much we can know on the public market, of course, as well.
So I guess the key question, I mean, I'm bought in. It's great. I think everyone will use one. How long is it going to take you to know that it's going to work? That the hormone levels are accurate and actually help and, will diagnose correctly?
So we're doing our first in human studies. That's really the biggest validation point that we have. It's really important that we do this. That will showcase our sensitivities and selectivities in vivo. That is extremely important because you can only mimic what's happening in the body.
To interrupt you quickly, 1 year, 3 years, 10 years?
That's this year, 2020.
But I mean, to know the answer.
To know the answer this year.
This year, great.
So we hit the clock for this moment. Thank you very much. And that was our presentation from the IMPLI UK. Please give a big round of applause to the speakers. Thank you. So coming up next, we have Bloom Live from USA. Please welcome the speakers on stage.
All right, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here today. My name is Julian Penders. I'm a co-founder of Bloom Life, a women's health company redesigning the future of maternal care. We are in the middle of a maternal health crisis. Globally, every 2 minutes, a woman will die from causes related to pregnancy or childbirth. This is an obvious problem in the developing world, but we also see maternal mortality rates increasing in North America, in Europe, and in the UK. This is a crisis long in the making. We see women having babies at a later age, and with that comes an increasing risk for her and for her baby. We see increasing chronic diseases, diabetes, hypertension increasing, and that leads to higher rates of high-risk pregnancies. Those high-risk pregnancies require greater clinical surveillance to avoid costly adverse birth outcomes. However, at the same time, we see a shortage of maternal health providers, leaving many pregnant women with no access to prenatal care. In the United States, 46% of counties have zero to low access to obstetric care. In Japan, the number of OBGYN is 5 to 10 times lower than the United States and heavily uniformly distributed. In brief, the healthcare systems today are failing the needs of moms and their doctors, and we need to change that. At Bloom Life, we believe that the future of maternal care will be remote, data-driven, and proactive. We are building this future with Bloom Life Connects, a tech-enabled maternal care platform combining connected devices, AI-based predictive markers, and clinical services to improve access, quality, and efficiency of care. At the core of our platform is a patch-based fetal monitoring solution. It shifts antepartum fetal surveillance from high-cost hospital settings into home. Antepartum fetal surveillance is a routine test that is provided for all at-risk women during the third trimester. It requires the mom to go to the hospital 2 or 3 times a week, get hooked to this antiquated machine that you see on the side, and stay there for an hour. With our prenatal wearable, we bring care to the home, to the mom, in an easy-to-use and cost-efficient form factor. The technology is protected by 15 patents, and we received FDA clearance last year, showing the equivalence of our technology with the standard of care. What's even more than that is that beyond fetal monitoring, our prenatal wearable will unlock unique longitudinal data that will power the discovery of predictive markers of maternal and fetal health. We've already developed and published a marker for preterm birth, and we are working on additional markers for maternal and fetal complications. From a business model perspective, we sell and contract with healthcare providers, and we generate revenue from insurance using existing CPT code, existing reimbursement codes. Our beachhead market is high-risk pregnancies in the United States, which drives $77 billion in healthcare spending annually. Just using CPT code, this represents a market opportunity of $3.5 billion annually. Shifting to value-based contracting, we believe this opportunity will grow to almost $14 billion annually. And remember, these are only US numbers. The problem is big, so is the market opportunity. We launched last year, and we've been focused essentially on founder-led sales so far. We've seen a growing prescriber and patient base. We have today 18 doctors prescribing the platform. We've seen 0% provider churn to date. And our clients have been successfully securing reimbursement from 19 different payers, including Medicaid payers. All that is in the United States. We've served the needs of 2,000 pregnant women with an NPS score, which is over 70. And what's the most important for me is the feedback we're getting from our users. These are quotes that we got from last week. It's users providing their feedback afterwards. The one that I prefer is the last one. It says, Bloom Life saved mine and my baby's life and helped me so much with my health. I am so very grateful to the Bloom Life team. This means a lot to me. This is why our team and my team is working so hard to make this happen and to make this vision happen. Quick note about the team. Team experience in healthcare technologies and medical devices and maternal fetal medicine. And my co-founder, Eric, and myself were working together at IMEC before that, where we developed key technologies that disrupted the cardiac monitoring market. We developed that MCOT system for a company called Biotelemetry that was acquired by Philips about 2 years ago for $2.8 billion. Our leadership team were also a key personnel capturing a new approach for labor and delivery at a company called Obi Medical, incidentally also sold to Philips a few more years before that. I'll finish by quoting a report from the Gates Foundation that says that without changing our approach to maternal and prenatal care, we will fail the United Nations SDG goals for maternal and neonatal survival. Now is the time to act. We believe we have the technology, the team, the traction, and the passion to make that happen. And hopefully today we can call it your support and endorsement for our mission. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for your presentation. So it's time for the Q&A session. Please go ahead.
The three triple bias in this one, right? Because I'm OBGYN, I work for Philips, I know MCOT. So just, can you explain a little bit more how you are using the actual CPT codes? Because they are usually built for in-house service, right?
Yeah, so we're using, I'm going to pass the device here. We're using a combination of CPT codes. In the US, it's 7 CPT codes. Part of them is the RPM codes that we're using that are okay for home use. And that's for a lot of the remote care service that we provide. We use codes for clinical services, teleconsultations, and then we're using the code for NST, which has this dedicated CPT code that has been already used for monitoring at home. So it's a code that is no location attached to it. So that's something that works in India. In Europe, there are different codes that are being used as well. Yeah.
For how long can you keep that? Or
so we're really mimicking what's done in the hospital. So it's a non-stress test. So she's going to use it for 40 minutes to max an hour. And she changes patches every test. Yeah. And then the device on it is reusable across patients as well, which saves a lot of the cost. And also from sustainability, it's a lot better.
So in terms of market entry, you guys have been around a little while with this device, and you're not, you have a few hundred. I forget how many providers did you say you had?
We have prescribing. We have 20. We have a few more.
Okay. How do you get? How many OBs are there in the US? A lot more than 20.
Yeah, a lot more than 20.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
How do you get from here to there?
Yeah. So we have so we started with founder-led sales. We're growing through two market segments, really. We segment the market in two. There is private practices that we go after directly, and we're going to hire a sales team. And then we also have healthcare systems for which we team up with a strategic partner. So we have a partnership with a company called Perigen. So those of you may know them. So we have a strategic partnership with Perigen. They basically get us access to their healthcare systems, 500 systems. They have a 20% market share in the US. It's a double partnership in terms of distribution channels. So it's a channel partnership, but also an integration partnership. Because they integrate with them, they're already integrated with all the EMR. We don't talk about this, but we do feed into EMR so that we have no disruption to the workflow for the doctors. And so Perigen allows us also to integrate directly into those EMRs. So to answer your question, it's both our own sales team for private practices and then strategic partnerships for healthcare systems.
So to put you on the spot, when do you get to a meaningful number?
So what do you call meaningful?
I don't know. I mean,
so
you've already raised how much? $20 million?
Yeah, we just actually closed around 2 months ago. But yeah, so
you must have told your investors.
Yeah, so we had it to $1 million ARR towards the end of this year, and we've been showing like 20% month-to-month growth for the last 9 months. So if you extrapolate that, so it should be $1 million this year, 3 the year after, and then 10 in 2027. That's kind of the trajectory so far.
Can you talk a little about your outcomes data? I mean, are you lowering costs? Are you reducing complication rates? And what are the KPIs around from a clinical perspective?
Yeah, so we did can you go back to the slides if it's possible? So we're looking at it, so it's really two aspects. One of it is really the decrease in so these are a couple of KPIs that we're tracking. So of course, the most direct selling aspect is reimbursed, so it's no cost to the patient. The doctors are actually making extra money because it's out of the bundle. So the direct, like the easiest set argument is to say, well, look, you're going to be able to cater to more patients and you're going to be able to generate additional revenues. Then comes, of course, the outcome. This is data from the first 500 patients that we've done. So what do we see? We see like the most direct impact is the improvement in adherence. This is for a blood pressure cohort, so hypertensive moms. So we see an improvement in adherence. That's the first thing. We see improvement in terms of control of the blood pressure. So we can see that the mom, and it's been shown that if you have a more controlled blood pressure, you directly impact positively outcomes. So we see also that patient stays within the range that they need to more often. So that's really the two outcomes that we've been able to track. Anecdotally, we hear from our doctors that they also believe that they see a reduction in pre-encaptic event if you look at this, but I don't have statistical data to back this up yet, but that's kind of what we're collecting. Our goal is exactly that, is to use CPT codes to actually get this out, get more data, and we believe we'll be able to see those outcomes at a larger scale, and then you can start moving and switching towards value-based contracting once you actually have shown the health economics advantage of this.
We've almost reached the time limit, so thank you very much. Please give a round of applause for your speakers. Thank you so much. And next up, we have Activo Labs PTE Limited from Singapore. Please welcome on stage.
Good afternoon, I'm Gaurav. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Activo Labs. We are a digital health sciences company and focusing on one of the biggest macro problem statements of our times today, and that is chronic diseases plaguing our society. And the numbers that you see on the screen are very real. 2023, the United States spent $3.7 trillion in the management of chronic diseases. Japan spent $300 billion last year. This number is projected to be $7 trillion for the United States alone in 2030, and globally, $47 trillion. Now, the conversation that I have with policymakers and relevant stakeholders around the world is only one thing. How do we keep people outside the four walls of the hospitals for as long as we can? That's the only way we can manage that cost. So what is it that we do? We work with some of the largest life and health insurance companies, reinsurance companies, banks, telcos, governments, anyone willing to have a conversation with their customers, with their employees, with their policyholders, with their citizens around health and longevity. Using a digital-first approach, we can definitely be a partner of their choice. And our approach is utilizing the technology of our times today, and that is real-time data. Data that human beings generate just by the virtue of keeping their smartphones on and or wear any kind of fitness tracking data, your smart rings, your smart watches. We take that data and turn that into intelligence for both the consumer and also for the enterprise itself. And that's where the idea of the Activo score came about, a digital biomarker that takes into your daily lifestyle choices, turns it into a single score, and the score becomes a proprietary input for our risk analytics engine, which we called Activo Predict, which stratifies risk of a population for high, medium, low risk for various morbidity and all-cause mortality itself. I'll give you some examples in the wild. We have a regional partnership with AXA, gone live with them in Hong Kong, in Thailand, in Indonesia, going live in Philippines. They use this as the EMA score, which is their digital platform for engaging their policyholders. You can earn up to 20% discount on your annual premiums based on your score. Similarly, Daiichi is the Daiichi Connect score in Vietnam and India. Old Mutual Africa, we are going live with them across 14 markets. We have a 10-year contract, turn it into a Thrive platform where you not only get part of the loyalty program, but they're using the data to create new products. And Britannia is one of the biggest consumer products company or goods company in India, where they're creating their own Nike Club kind of a situation, white labeling the Activo platform itself. But not just only life and health insurance companies and consumer goods, we are having partnerships with governments around the world, 2 B2G pilots secured, one in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, one in Australia. And we have a very exciting partnership that we're about to announce with MasterCard. We are seeing Activo score-enabled credit cards, where you would end up actually earning dollars and cashbacks based on your lifestyle score. And the card can also be embedded with insurance products as well. We are working with some of the leading thought leaders, especially around healthy longevity in the space, research collaboration agreements with King's College London, University of Oxford. We are a designated innovation partner with American Heart Association. If you go to their website, out of the 18 companies globally, we are one of them. And again, research collaboration agreement here in this country, very soon to be announced with 2 of the premier institutes as well. But this is where the rubber has really hit the road. We have around 1.6 million registered users on the platform. The last 6 months data, this is where people on the platform, they're improving their Activo score and the underlying parameters that makes it up itself. So we have all the certifications in place to work with the Fortune 100 and the Fortune 1000 companies, both in terms of ID security and data privacy. But our differentiation right over here, what we call our proprietary data loops. We have the scientific validation in terms of having a health score and a risk engine which has both medical and actuarial validation. Very sticky contracts that enters into the existing ecosystems of large enterprises, usually 1 to 3 year contracts. We have 10-year contracts as well. But where we are very excited is that how every user and every interaction that they have with the Activo platform enhances our capabilities itself. So we are looking for partners right now, both in terms of life and health insurance companies, super apps, governments, and academic partnerships right here in Japan. So that's a bit about the team, fairly well spread across New York, Singapore, and India, and a very strong scientific advisory board helping us move forward itself. Looking forward to your questions, and thank you again for your time today.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And now
Just
move
on
on to the, yes, question, please, go ahead.
Nice presentation, thank you. And amazing traction. I'm not saying this to be rude, like, so what? Like, so what's the outcome? So you improve all these metrics, you drive better behavior, you get people off the couch, stop being lazy. Like, to what end, financially, clinically? Like, what have been some of the actuarially, you mentioned actuarially driven data, like, what have been some of the markers that you've seen?
Yeah, so I think we went to the payers, right? So the so what was actually a big question because healthcare is always been about going where the pain is, not so much on preventative healthcare, right? So our first go-to-market was with the life and health insurance companies. This is where they really felt the pain in terms of the continuous increasing of medical inflation is all down to the fact that people are getting unhealthy at earlier times and living longer with the disease itself. So for a life and health insurance company, for them, we do 3 things. Number 1, improve engagement with their end users, increasing persistency, getting more data to drive more product innovation itself. We work with Berkshire Hathaway. They are utilizing our data to drive discounts based on the Activo score right? So they'll take 3 questions instead of asking 20 questions. You have 1 month's worth of Activo score. Here is your product itself. So we are increasing a lot of efficiency, especially in life and health across the value chain, all the way to the reinsurance piece itself. Now, telehealth companies are using it to drive engagement, creating health score-enabled digital health solutions around diabetes management, hypertension management, mental health. And more importantly, insurance companies and also governments are now looking at it as a population health management platform. I'll give you just one quick example. We are going to publish this paper with one of the largest insurance companies. We went to them after 1 year. We told them that out of your 100,000 users who's generating the Activo score on your mobile application, according to our risk engine, 6,000 of them are at a super high risk of being diabetes. They said, what's a super high risk? We said 1 out of 12 are diabetic according to our models. They came back to us after 4 months. They said, Gaurav, it's not 1 out of 12, it's 1 out of 8. I was like, what do you mean? They actually gave this 6,000 a free health checkup. 1,800 of them turned up, and turns out 1 out of 8 were diabetic. They didn't know it, the insurer didn't know it. Now they're going to put them on a program. So that's how you do population health management. You don't need to boil the whole ocean and get everyone a test. The real-time data becomes very strong proxies to understand where the risk is, and that's where I think we can save a lot of money.
Hi, Gaurav. Nice to see you again.
Hi. Hi, Abby.
Yeah, hi,
Yeah.
how are you?
I'm good. Good seeing you. Yeah.
One of the things that we've noticed when financial service institutions offer healthcare products is that the engagement rates tend to be variable. And I'm curious what the engagement rate is of the eligible population that has access to the product, and how either you or they can influence increasing that engagement rate, what you have seen over time as you've been working with these clients.
Yeah, I think that depends on market to market and the packaging of the product itself. It's gone anywhere between 12% to 25% itself. And if the packaging of the product is very simple and made understandable to that end user, it becomes much more easier. So it's as simple as you maintain a score of this, you get an annual discount of 20% and 30%. The moment you put in too many complications, you do this, you do that, if the agent is mis-selling, then it creates a lot of problem itself. And it's only going up because what we see is that there is a race to arms on this one. Every insurer would want to have a product and a proposition like this just to compete in the market. And every one of our contracts have now been recontracted, whether it's an old mutual, whether it's a Daiichi, whether it's AXA, right? We are all at an average contract of around 5 to 10 years. They all started off working with us for 1 year, then they recontracted us. It's just a signal of hopefully things to come. But the numbers are going up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Levy. Yeah, last quick question.
Dumb question. I mean, how do you record the data? Is it all wearables? Is it self-entered? And then if you're competing, if you're using a watch or whatever, you're competing with Apple, you're competing with Google, Fitbit. What's the distinction there?
Yeah, so we don't compete with Apple and Google. We take in data from Apple, Google, Fitbit, Garmin, Oura Ring, Whoop, and I look like a crazy guy.
But you're competing for attention for the individual. They could look at it in their Apple Watch. They could look at it in their steps in Google, Fitbit, or whatever.
So if you have an Apple Watch, and say if your insurer is saying that just connect your Apple Watch into this platform, and you get this as a return, right? That's what we are doing. We're providing the platform to the insurer over here, right? For Dr. Perron, she might be wearing a Fitbit, right? For Michael, he might be wearing an Oura Ring. It's bring your own device, right? For most of the room, they might not even have a device, just from a smartphone, and there's no manual entry of data. The moment you need manual entry of data, you will see the user uptake fall through the roof. Yeah.
So unfortunately, time is up for this moment. Thank you very much. And please give a round of applause to the speakers. So next up is the final speaker for this pitch competition. Please welcome Iker Spa from Chile. Please welcome on stage.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Maria Manquez, medical doctor, ophthalmologist. Today we have more than 800 million children younger than 6 years old worldwide. At least 5% of them already have some eye disorders affecting their ability to learn. Because of lack of maturity, they do not complain. Most of their problems could be easily solved with eyeglasses. A small number of them have more severe conditions as cataract or even eye cancer. Because of that, the standard of care set up the red reflex test should be done on all of them at the Welsh Eye Care visit. The problem, the test is difficult to do, and most of the pediatric healthcare team do not perform the test, even though they have a very, very low sensitivity, 17%. For that reason, most of the children are detected at the very late stage advance of disease. Our solution, MDI Care, an app with higher sensitivity, potentially saving the life of thousands of children a year and improving the quality of life of millions. We have an external device, we have a software in the mobile, and AI in the cloud. The solution should be used by the pediatric healthcare personnel at the Welsh Eye Care visit. So what is the advantage? Higher sensitivity, it's simple to use, it's portable, low cost, provide a recordable images, so you reduce or you avoid the lawsuit. And you have an AI report with a written report, normal or abnormal. The impact is substantial because at this age, 80% of learning occurs through vision. No vision, no learning. Good vision means good learning, better job opportunities, and eventually improve the GDP in every country. In terms of eye cancer, the difference is substantial, means life or death. In fact, I am an eye cancer expert, 20 years of experience, and this is the reason why we developed this app. At this point, the traditional system is not working well. What are our competitors? Machine devices. They are complex, they are expensive, and mostly used by optometrists and ophthalmologists, not in the primary care physician. Our business model is focused on institution providing healthcare Welsh Eye Care visit as hospital clinical, and we will provide a client account, external device, and access to the AI for reporting the images. In this way, the customer will comply with the AI screening, avoiding the lawsuits and favoring a second consultation within the same institution with the ophthalmologist. Our basket include the device, the subscription, and additional service. And we have two different prices for low-income countries and for high-income countries. The TAM is very large, include nearly 7 million devices plus account worldwide. If you look at the regions just on the emerging market, we will have more than 250 million tests every year. In terms of sum, we will go to the large group of hospitals in the US or Europe, and we will go to the NGOs in the emerging market. We have traction in terms of letter of support from experts in ocular oncology worldwide. We have a number of papers reporting us as a promising innovation, and we have patent of invention with PCT. Our ask, we are looking for $2 million for performing clinical trials in 4 continents. And in the next year, we should be able to start commercializing with a minimum requirement in the low-income countries and then in the high-income countries. We expect to have nearly $15.4 million in the next years just in the emerging market. And this is our team. Dominique Dufour is his expert in strategy and business management, mentor at Mass Challenge Accelerator. A number of lawyers, because this is intellectual property, AI regulation, our engineers and astronomers, and a large number of doctors. So we want to provide a brighter future with a life-saving photo. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. So it's time for the Q&A session.
So your product it provides the same type of accuracy as existing products in the market, but your point of differentiation is that you can provide that with a lower cost. Is that what it is?
Well, in fact, excuse me. In fact, the traditional system used this device, and you cannot have a recorded images, and it's difficult to use. And the report depends on the expertise of the evaluator. And sometimes the evaluator is a nurse, is an assistant, is not a doctor. What we have is this external device that you can use in your mobile. You attach, you use your own mobile, and you can take the picture for the baby. And then you have the images here. And the images can be uploaded into the AI, and they will give you the report, normal or abnormal.
So another point you're making is that it alleviates the patient from visiting a clinic to get that testing done. It can be done at home or wherever.
No, it should be done at the pediatric health care, because if you detect some abnormality, the pediatric healthcare system has more way to solve the problem easily. If you give to the parents go with anxiety and they have to ask an appointment to the doctor. So if you have in the well-site care visit regular from newborn to 6 years old, they have the obligation to do the test. They have the requirement by law.
So just say, next time, do that demo in the demo, in the presentation.
Well, in fact, I have a short video. I don't know.
No, I'm not saying you should show it, but what you just did then showed us how it works. Okay. And I think until Kira had asked that question, we didn't know.
So Maria, thank you for the presentation, very thoughtful. What kind of data do you have around the validation of the AI? Because you were pitching for the investment for the clinical trial, but I'm assuming you have some data to validate the AI already existed.
There is one paper written by the Indian colleagues. They compare our system evaluating patients with eye cancer, and detection was 79%. That is very good, comparing with the traditional system that is 17.
Another quick question. Your go-to market, you're starting with developed countries, and then you're going to expand into the emerging. What's the logic behind that?
It's because in the emerging market, you have a large amount of children, less amount of doctor, and less regulation. So once you are there, you collect more data, you improve your data AI analysis, and then you can go easier to the FDA. The FDA, they have a breakthrough pathway, allows you to have a fast track. But what is good if you have a previous report from elsewhere?
We still have a minute and 40. Would you like to go for another question? Okay, yes, please.
So this starts with eye cancer, which the disease that you're looking to connect with is
any abnormality. Yes, the red reflex was well described in 1960. And if you have a normal red reflex, means that everything is normal. And if you have any difference between one eye and the other, either white, black, or different colors, you have to refer to a specialist. And the specialist, the ophthalmologist, will tell you how bad, if it's just hyperopia or it's a cataract or it's eye cancer. The point is you have this as a screening test, telling you it's normal or not. And in fact, that is the requirement for this device.
Okay, so there's a wide range of things it could be, but it's not for eye testing of vision quality.
No,
it's
because
just a disease.
You cannot test the vision when you have a little child. I'm talking about from newborn to 6 years old. They do not collaborate.
Thank you very much. So that was a presentation by Eye Care Spa from Chile. Please give a round of applause for the speakers. Thank you so much. And this concludes the pitch competition. And please give a round of applause once again for all the speakers.